Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Chicago This Week. I'm Hayes Owens. We begin with the immigration crisis and the end to Title 42. The policy allowed the federal government to override immigration law. Until then, people who entered the U.S. illegally were able to ask for asylum here. Title 42, set up during the COVID crisis, allowed the government to enforce even more limitations. Now the high numbers of illegal immigrants coming in is expected to get even higher. Brenda Ordonez is live with more on how the city of Chicago is struggling to find new spaces to house the influx of people.
Thanks, Hayes. Hundreds of migrants are arriving to the city each week, with thousands more expected once Title 42 expires. City officials are now panicked and scrambling to find a solution as shelters fill up, leaving migrants with no other option but to sleep on the floors of police stations.
Right now, every place we stay at is very congested. But little by little, they will solve it. That's what they tell us.
The congestion 24-year-old Venezuelan migrant Jose Barrios speaks of is that of the police station where he and his 5-year-old daughter sought shelter for 9 days.
What we're seeing right now is we don't have enough beds or enough space for migrants to stay at, so migrants are staying at police stations.
Since August, Chicago has welcomed over 8,000 migrants, with hundreds more arriving each day. Perkins said this surge has resulted in a depletion of city resources and space, leaving officials scrambling to find a solution.
The problem is, though, is that we are receiving so many migrants that we're still seeing a lot of overflow still end up at the stations.
Perkins says most every, if not all, police stations across Chicago are sheltering migrants, noting that the migrants are sleeping on the floors and not receiving the same care as those living in proper shelters.
Getting them into a more suitable setting where they can receive the medical attention, where they can receive those resources, and where they have a bed and a shower and stuff like that is really going to be the humane way to treat the migrants.
The city is actively looking at housing migrants in field houses, high schools, and other areas equipped for over 200 people.
We're leaving everything in God's hands.
Thanks, Brenda. Last week, the Illinois Senate passed a bill that essentially prohibits public libraries from banning books. It's basically the opposite of what lawmakers are doing to some conservative states. I talked to book lovers and legal experts about the bill. The Illinois House passes a bill that prohibits public institutions from book banning.
Illinois law is the first effort by a state government to enact legislation to prohibit book banning in public libraries.
This comes after Mayor Lori Lightfoot tweeted, "In Texas, reading any book I choose. No banning of books or thought ever," in May of 2022. By September of 2022, she declared Chicago a book sanctuary city, influencing the legislation made today. Chicago residents share a message to states banning books.
Knowledge is the key. It's sad because why wouldn't you want people to be knowledgeable about what's going on?
It's just very disappointing, and it's not giving our kids a chance to learn about things that they need to learn instead of hearing it from mouth.
Benson is hopeful for the future.
In principle, this law sends a message, and I think it's a vital message, that we value free expression, right? And we're not going to ban books. We're not going to censor speech because that's violative of democratic principles.
Have you ever been downtown and needed to use a restroom, but had trouble finding one? You probably had to buy something you didn't want in a restaurant just so you could use their bathroom. Or maybe you made your way through a department store just so you could get to a toilet. Here's Demita Menezes with a story on how local lawmakers have a plan to bring back public restrooms to the city.
Chicago might soon get more public restrooms. The city is exploring the possibility of installing them as part of a renegotiated contract with JCDecaux, the company responsible for operating and maintaining bus shelters in the city. According to Alderman Daniel Laspada, the revenue the city receives from JCDecaux could be used to fund the installations and maintenance of the restrooms at no cost to taxpayers.
We just have to make a choice as a city. What do we want? Do we just want to take the revenue, or do we want to take these new infrastructure items, which arguably would provide an even greater benefit to Chicagoans?
Chicago pioneered the way to end paid toilets 50 years ago, but the city is lacking in toilet infrastructure. According to the Chicago Tribune, there are less than 500 publicly available restrooms that are easily accessible. And in the US, there are only 8 public toilets per 100,000 people, according to a report by QS Bathroom Supplies.
It's a public health issue. We in many cities are facing public defecation and urination issues.
It's not a logistical challenge because we know how to overcome that. It's not even a financial challenge. The only barrier to overcome at this point is a political one. Do we have the political will to do this for Chicago? And I very much hope that we will.
La Spada says there is no reason why the deal couldn't happen this year. And if it does, the first step will be looking for locations for the first few public restrooms. In Wicker Park, I'm Demita Menezes, Chicago This Week.
Thanks, Demita. A local group of bird lovers decided to use their passion for nature and animals to shine a light on a crisis impacting Indigenous people. Mia Bearden is live with more. Hi, Mia.
Hi, Hayes. Yes, this group takes a new action to bring awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous women. Here's more on that story. The Chicago Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Birders held an event not only for bird watching and community cleaning, but to discuss keeping our Indigenous community members safe and writing a letter to the Mayor-elect, Brandon Johnson, in support of these efforts.
You would already understand the issues that are at hand. You'd understand the history that Columbus has with Indigenous communities, especially Indigenous women. And we decided today because it's the National Week of Action for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. And it's an issue that Austin community has brought up and has been working with him on. So we decided it's time again to bring it back up. And we want to see things change, and we hope that Austin community members are heard and Indigenous voices are heard in our letter.
President Joe Biden released a proclamation stating that there will be individual attention to these cases and plans to put an end to gender-based violence. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the murder rate is 10 times higher than the national average for women living on reservations, and the third leading cause of death for Native women. Nancy encourages people to take action and speak up to bring awareness to this issue.
It's Mental Health Awareness Month. Throughout May, the National Alliance on Mental Health Illnesses hopes to raise awareness and fight the stigma surrounding mental health issues. Kennedy Chase is in the studio with a special guest to talk about it. Hi, Kennedy.
Thanks, Hayes. I am joined today by Dr. Colleen Sierra, a licensed clinical psychologist and the founder and CEO of the Sierra Center for Behavioral Health, located here in downtown Chicago. Thank you so much, Dr. Sierra, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I thought today would be, since it is Mental Health Awareness Month, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to bring in a mental health expert and just have a quick Q&A with you about some questions that all of us have. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to get started. So, our first question is, why do you believe mental health awareness is so important?
So many reasons, but suffice it to say there is still profound stigma. The history of stigma around mental health is so long-standing, goes so back in our history that despite all of the awareness and access and more knowledge that people have these days, there is still a profound stigma.
And continuing the conversation with trauma, I mean, people of all ages experience trauma. Have you ever, have you recently noticed any trends within young people with regards to mental health concerns?
I think loneliness is probably the biggest thing that we're seeing right now, especially for young people. Their experience of just isolation and loneliness really, I think, was exacerbated profoundly by the pandemic.
What is some advice you would give someone dealing with some mental health concerns, but they're just too afraid to ask for help?
So I think it can be really scary to approach a friend or a family member to say that you're struggling. But the internet has made it incredibly easy where you don't have to go to someone you love who you fear might judge you. There are so many therapist directories out there. Psychology Today, Therapy Den, Inclusive Therapist. There are so many. You can just go, and it's like Match.com, only for therapists and clients, and you can figure out which one is going to work best for you. Get into therapy, though. If you can't reach out to a friend, get into therapy.
Well, thank you so much. I love how there's so many resources out there.
So many.
And thank you so much for being here today and what you do for the community. We all really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 8 people in the world live with a mental health disorder. But mental health experts believe that seeking help has become more popular.
Many more people are starting to talk about mental health in the mainstream media, which I think really helps people demystify the process of seeking counseling and understanding their own mental health.
It's more normal to be not normal right now than it is to be normal.
Like adults, young people also face mental health concerns.
A couple of the trends that are really concerning have to do with increased amounts of suicidal ideation. That includes thoughts of suicide, people wanting to take their own lives. And we see a lot of this in the younger people.
If you believe you are in need of mental health resources or want a mental health screening, visit Mental Health America's website at mhanational.org.
Thanks, Kennedy. Stay with us. After the break, we show you simple massage techniques you can do at home to get rid of some of your allergy symptoms.
If you don't take care of you, how will you take care of everybody else you want to take care of?
And in sports, we go to the Chicago Bears training camp and hear from some of the hot new players. Don't go anywhere.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Welcome back. Runny nose, sneezing, watery eyes, cough. If you've got allergies, then you're all too familiar with these symptoms. But did you know there's something you can do about these symptoms that doesn't require medicine? Abby Buston joins us with more. Hi, Abby.
Hi, Hayes. Whether you're stuffing your face in flowers or stuffing your face in a tissue this spring, there's a simple at-home routine that might help. Check it out. Spring season is here, and while flowers are blooming and sunshine is warming up our temperatures, another seasonal effect is in full swing: allergies.
In addition to the symptoms of congestion, sneezing, postnasal drainage, it can affect their sleep, it can affect their mood, it can affect their ability to concentrate. So all of us should never be aware of our nose.
While Dr. Michael Friedman says there are no ways to prevent or eliminate allergies, there are ways to reduce the pain. Massage therapist Felicia Saffold says anyone can do an at-home facial routine.
The lymphatic massage, I think, is super important because it plays a big role in our immune system and our immune support. So just fighting daily bacteria, viruses, all those different pathogens that might be out there, germs that we interact with on a daily basis.
Start by lightly rubbing your chest in 5 to 10 circular movements. From there, work your way up. Massage softly around your cheeks, eyes, and forehead. And finish by reversing the massages back down to your chest.
Taking that time for you. A lot of people like to say it's selfish, but if you don't take care of you, how will you take care of everybody else you want to take care of?
But if your at-home massages aren't quite doing the trick, in-person massages might be the next best thing.
Hi, it's time for Chicago This Week Sports. I'm John Riker. Bears held their rookie minicamp last week. Afterward, the team signed a few new players to the roster. I was at the camp and got to hear from the coach and the team's top draft pick. Take a look.
It's back to work at Hallis Hall. The Bears opened rookie minicamps with their first practice Saturday. For a team with the worst record in the NFL last year, developing young talent is a priority.
I think that's going to be nice to be able to evaluate not only our draft picks, but the free agents and also the tryout guys.
The player with all eyes on him is first-round pick Darnell Wright from Tennessee. Wright is expected to be an immediate contributor on the offensive line and help protect quarterback Justin Fields. He's most excited to get into a football routine after months of training for the draft.
Just like a whirlwind a little bit, and then I've just been waiting to kind of get back into my routine, really.
His fellow rookies are also embracing the opportunity to learn the Bears system, get back into football, make an impression on the coaches.
After getting that call, I was immediately ready to work. So just being here now has just inspired me to even get more better.
The coaches are enjoying the first day of practice too.
Obviously, they're very juiced up, which is great. You know, you say, ask them a question and they all say, yes, sir. You know, you don't usually get that with the veterans, but.
Number 1 seed Big Ten champions Northwestern will advance to the NCAA tournament in women's lacrosse. Elena Sklar introduces us to a young new player who's already having a big impact on the team's success. Who's the player, Elena?
That player is first-year Madison Taylor. Taylor was just named the Big Ten Freshman of the Year and plays a key role in the Cats' lethal offense.
Northwestern lacrosse has enjoyed a historic season so far, and Madison Taylor has been a large part of the success. As only a first year on the team, Taylor's hard work and physicality has allowed her to flourish.
I think it's just really just working hard, honestly, and kind of just controlling what I can control. You always never know what to expect, but I kind of just kept my head down, kind of just kept working hard and just having fun, really. That was the most important part.
I think Maddie absolutely came in with a physical strength and just a level of confidence that isn't quite as normal on the first years.
The midfielder from New York has started every game, was named an All Big Ten honoree, and was the Big Ten Freshman of the Week a record 8 times this season.
Each day here, she's just really grown and has been her true self and a great player, and it's been amazing to kind of watch her and play with her as well.
Just her physicality as an athlete makes it easy for her to kind of do what she does out on the field. And I think she has a level of poise. I think she's a great finisher, and she's a great teammate as well.
Taylor and the Wildcats are Big Ten champions and earned the #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They continue their quest for the program's 8th national championship this weekend.
Did you know that for thousands of years, different cultures have used sound as a tool for healing? It can treat things like anxiety, depression, and even pain. Max Olson is here with more. Hi, Max.
Yeah, John, not a sports story this week, but an important one nonetheless. Sound meditation, it's been around for a long time, and people in Chicago, they're using it to their advantage.
So when people walk out of these experiences, I want them, number one, to just feel as if they have shifted their perspective on whatever it is going on in their life. So they walk in and they're really stressed out about work and this project, and they leave and they go, wow, I have a new perspective on this situation. I know how to approach it moving forward. So, it's very individualized. Even though I'm playing for a group of people, each person is going through their own experience, and they're going to have their own unique reaction to the sounds.
One of the ways that we are able to tie in our local community in Chicago and wellness is through bringing Jay from Current Vibrations to do his sound healing.
As the sound is moving through the electrical system of the body, working on breaking up resistance, barriers that have been created, and supporting us in achieving deep states of meditation, relaxation, and release.
When athletes aren't practicing their sport, they might be building endurance on the treadmill or lifting weights to build strength. As Ayana Bronner reports, lately you'll find more and more on a yoga mat. Right, Ayana?
That's right, John. As a result of yoga, athletes can have more flexibility, balance, coordination, and a greater ability to breathe.
Hyde Park Arts Center is back hosting free days of wellness, complete with meditation, yoga, do-it-yourself activities, and stand-up comedy.
Mental health and wellness was at the forefront of my mind, and really trying to bring people together to figure out ways to channel grief, trauma, to channel that isolation and maybe depression that people had been feeling as well. And just thinking about how we can commemorate May as Mental Health Awareness Month outside of just simply talking about it.
Athletes in particular are becoming more aware of the benefits of consistent mindfulness as mental health becomes more prominent in society.
Becoming an instructor and having practiced for so long, you learn, and I've learned that yoga philosophy is a lot. So mindfulness, right? Meditation, breathing, learning how to manage conflict and relationships. That too is yoga because it finds balance within an individual and consequently within a community.
Kind of somewhere in the middle of my career, I stumbled upon meditation. I started practicing, and I found it to be very supportive of my overall performance in relationships, communication, creativity, and everything else.
Sound therapist Lily Whitehawk explained that an athlete who is exposed to the wrong frequency for too long doesn't get to ground their energy. For athletes, meditation can increase focus, reduce stress, and improve mind-body connection.
Starbucks has announced a new line of drink this special Valentine's Day event.
Pilsen Vintage made the best of the COVID restrictions impacting their storefront 3 years ago. Now they're responsible for hosting the Chicago Vintage Fest, which is an outdoor, COVID-safe market where you can buy almost anything vintage or thrifted, like this top.
What started as the need to move outside during the COVID pandemic has blossomed into a community of small businesses supporting one another.
As we all know, COVID hit a lot of small businesses kind of hard. So for us at Pilsen Vintage, we decided that we would just kind of move outdoors a little bit. Started with a sidewalk sale right in front of our business. And over time, it just came to be that we were like, yeah, come through, you could do this too, come set up right next to us. And it's kind of grown from there.
It's grown so much that the Chicago Vintage Fest was created. There are markets of varying size all year long, but this one in Wicker Park features 45 vendors, some of whom traveled to be here.
Kind of didn't know what to do with myself during COVID, so I started making pants that I wore around, and people would ask me where I got them. So I started selling online, and then I started doing pop-up markets.
And the best part about pop-up markets is connecting with customers.
I absolutely love it when somebody tries something on that I've made and they love the way they feel in it.
With over 5,000 attendees, the fest was packed, and there's no entry fee, so everyone can attend.
Chicago City Markets are back with the warmer weather. Ophelia Dang stopped by a few and is here to tell us all about them. Hi, Ophelia.
Hi, Julia. As you can see, it's finally a beautiful and warm springtime, and it's time for Chicago City Market to come back outside. Farmers markets throughout the city will start to open up this month, and they will run through November.
Chicago City Markets are booming throughout the city. Vendors return outdoors with fresh produce, pastries, flowers, and more.
The freshness, how everything comes and it was just harvested.
We have happiness and joy and pleasure.
Starting this month, Chicago City Markets open up one by one at a dozen different locations weekly.
We've been coming to this market for over 25 years. It's a very nice market. Love being here.
Good to see all the vendors again, our customers we see every year.
I like our regulars. I'm always happy when I see them.
Many people from the neighborhoods came to shop their favorite produce and Chicago-made products.
We love the farmers market, and we've been looking forward to this for like 2 months.
It's a highlight of the spring to me, and then the summer.
It's definitely better to be outside with everybody in attendance, all the different marketers.
City markets run through the entire summer to early November.
Thanks, Ophelia. In the next report, we take you to Humboldt Park and visit a non-traditional bar. Like most bars, it serves as a social gathering place with a relaxing vibe. But this one has no alcohol. Lena Folk is live with the story. Tell us about it, Lena.
This dry bar held a social space for LGBTQ people and allies, but was also a safe space for community.
Bendición Dry Bar is a queer-owned Latina business. Run out of Humboldt Park, it is one of the first intentional sober social community spaces in Chicago. Today, Bendición is hosting Queer Sober Social, a once-a-month gathering designed to build community without the use of substances.
We love to just have fun and socialize, play games, and just gather around non-alcoholic beverages because now there's such a bustling, demand for it.
For me, it's just always a safe space. It's also friends, you meet people.
It's a way to socialize.
Me personally, my sobriety and my sexuality are very intertwined. I had to find ways to come to terms with who I was when I was using substances.
It's good because it gives people a place of commonality. And it also gives people who are straight or allies that can visit to understand that we are people too.
Queer spaces are so important to keep them safe, and especially now with like the legislation, it's so important to make them accessible for people that don't necessarily drink or use substances anymore. I didn't think it was possible to like find a chosen family like this until I found it myself through this group.
There was music and dancing at Navy Pier this past weekend, and Jessica Christopher shows us the purpose of the big weekend event was to celebrate culture. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Hayes. The Consulate General of Mexico kicked off its second annual Mexico Fest on Friday. The inauguration was held at Navy Pier on Cinco de Mayo to celebrate the traditions of Jalisco here in Chicago.
This year, we celebrate the state of Jalisco, the land where many members of our community in the Midwest find their roots.
The Consulate General of Chicago celebrates its second year of Mexico Week at Navy Pier on Cinco de Mayo.
Our children, a lot of them come from migrant families, and they start to lose their roots and all of the culture that normally their parents had in Mexico. So being able to maintain that alive here in the United States in a foreign country to their parents, it's beautiful. They get to live the American dream without losing their history and losing their culture and what is natural to them.
Each region or each state is divided into different regions like Jalisco, Sinaloa, Nuevo León, and those chants are more specialized towards the way that people live. So when they hear me scream like "Arriba Jalisco," that's more like the people from Jalisco, like the pride they have in their state.
We must uplift and respect all of our 77 neighborhoods. Viva Mexico!
Finally, it's Mother's Day weekend, and our Raylan Lee takes us to a fashion show that celebrated mothers, daughters, and more. Hi, Raylan.
Hi, Hayes. In some cases, diamonds are a girl's best friend, but in this case, it's the role of mom. And this role deserves plenty of flowers and more, which was all that was given this past weekend.
Flower power. And giving the mother figures in our lives their flowers was the theme behind this pre-Mother's Day fashion show, starring mother and daughter duos.
Coming out of the pandemic, finally, we wanted to make sure we put together an event that would be a life-giving experience, but then also wanting to connect with people in real time, physically, person to person, face to face.
But there's a deeper meaning behind it all.
Bring awareness to a disease that he suffered from all his life.
100% of the proceeds were donated to a sickle cell research foundation in honor of a special father and husband figure.
We lived it, we breathed it, we understood it, but he was a warrior. Yeah. And we're gonna be warriors.
This full spring event made sure mothers knew their importance and why they're needed.
There's a grounding and foundation that comes from having a mother figure in your life to kind of help guide you through this world, this life that we live. Nobody's gonna have you back like your mama. She brought you into this world.
And although more than fashion was presented, flowers were the main course.
I give her her flowers on making me who I am today as just a bubbly, bright person.
Thanks, Raylan. I want to take this opportunity to say Happy Mother's Day to my mom, Monica, and to all the mothers out there. Thank you so much for all you do. Have a great night, everyone.